What did you keep from your father's original philosophy, and what did you deliberately change when you took over the business?
I kept all his concepts. I kept his full packet of DNA. I started to really market the product. It wasn't because the product wasn't good. It was because few people knew it. And that's the case with many good products. It's not known. So my first task was to make it more known, to get the magazines to write more about us. My father always said, Audiovector is the world's best kept secret. And I said to him, we have to close that thought and make it less of a secret. On actually do a 180, it's an open company. Everybody's welcome. Come and see what we're doing. So marketing and opening up the company, showing people who we were, what we could, and that it was also under succession of a younger man. So that is a pro and a con, because everybody wants to do business with the founder, but they want to know that there's a future. I've always been good friends with my father. We live close to each other. I bought a house very close to him and my mother and so on. I have 2 small boys, so they have a great relationship to their grandfather and grandmother and so on. You have to understand that when the mature owner is teaching you something, that is because they're trying to prevent you to make the same mistake, which can, in some cases, be fatal for a smaller economy like a loudspeaker company.
Right. How do you split roles internally today? Who drives long-term R&D vision? Who decides product direction? And who defines Audiovector voicing?
I decide all product direction. We are a listening team of 7 people. Ultimately, my father and I have the last words. My father is at the company 2 days a week. So he's helping the engineer and the technicians to understand the right direction. And if there's a mistake somewhere, he'll help them. But we could manage ourselves if we had to. I don't want that, but someday it's of all natural reasons, that's the way it's going to happen. But for the past 8 years, I have run the complete direction. Like I said, I'm not a technician, but I'm very good at putting people together. My father is dreaming up the concepts and creating the concept, and lets the engineers and the technicians do all the 3D drawings and get all the parts in motion. And then he assembles the puzzle with 2 of his best people. So when a loudspeaker is created and thought of as a finished product, we have 7 different locations that we listen to. And that's mostly in the listening team's private homes. Some lives in a wood house, some lives in a concrete house, some lives in a house of bricks, some lives in a big apartment. So it's different environments, and some have a lot of windows, some have a small window, some have carpets, some have less damping. And that's very important that when a speaker from us is ready to the market, we have been through all kinds of settings for the house. So it's not made in a laboratory.
What is the Audiovector sound you're trying to preserve across generations and product lines?
Open, dynamic, no compression.
What's the one design priority you refuse to compromise on, even when it makes the product harder or more expensive?
High sensitivity.
How do you balance objective engineering targets with the subjective, musically communicative feeling?
By the ears, we listen. So 50% of all our speakers are engineered in a lab, but then they're taken out. And the rest is engineered by ear until everybody agrees. You cannot make a loudspeaker only by measurements. It's not possible. Some will tell you it is, and you can get sound out of the box. But to get emotions, you would have to see emotions with the listener.
When you're voicing, what do you listen for that measurements don't easily reveal?
If the lungs of, for example, a female singer is stretching fully when performing through the drivers, you can have a very, very well-sounding loudspeaker. Details are perfect, strings on the guitar is organic, bass sounds good, but you only have half the voice. If that's the case, you have to change the weight in the crossover, for example, a little bit. So you give something, you take something, you take something, you give something.
Right.
And that's the balance with voicing a loudspeaker. But if the voice is not perfect, we can't use it.
What was the moment you knew Audiovector needed a new flagship like the R10 Arreté?
Shortly after the R8 was launched because we sold 4 times more R8s than we were expected. Isolated, that is a good thing, but that means that there's unresolved potential upwards. So just after a few years after the R8 was launched, we started to work on parts for the upcoming R10. We started to talk about how should it look. We're going to keep the design of the design line and the heritage of the R8, but we'll make it bigger, we'll make it grander, we will do something no one has done before, lesser people have done before. But it was at that time where people just kept buying R8. And I thought to myself, we have to have something which is greater.
What was the design brief in one sentence? What did the R10 need to do that nothing else your lineup does?
Off the bat, I would just yell, impress, but our model program impresses in each size. Yeah. It should give you a hug of music. And I'll try to explain, like a big speaker will give you a sound pressure to the chest, saying, "Oh, this is a big speaker. It can perform really, really well, and it plays loud and plays clean, and it's correct and it's perfect." But this loudspeaker, because it has this line array of 8 5-inch basses, the bass is distributed around the speaker and kind of hugs you and gives you a bass experience that comes around and takes you, and that was important.
When you say enter the dual dimension of sound, what does that mean in real listening terms?
The dual dimension term comes from the dual tweeters, of course. But if you're talking dual dimensions, you can be in 2 dimensions at once. You can sit here, but you can also forget everything and be here in the music. So it has many meanings. But entering the dual dimension is free yourself to the music while you're actually still on the planet.
So you don't listen to the sound, but you listen to the music.
Well, you have to listen to the sound to listen to the music, and vice versa. But the more you listen to music, the more you will experience the extraordinary healing effect of music as well. So we spend all our time perfecting a voice coil, changing a carbon structure fiber, using different kind of wood reasons, changing the surround, and all this is a process. But the end result have to be the ultimate musical happiness, because otherwise it gets a little bit too much that we're listening to equipment. We all know that we are, but sometimes it's important that you can kind of forget time and place and just be and press play on and keep pressing. And that's the extraordinary thing with 2 friends and a bottle of whiskey, for example. Right? That's a whole night where you have a good time.
Right. Yeah.
But with that said, it's been long, hard years to get the R10 to sound as we like it, to get the line array to work as intended, to work with open back tweeters, to have this airy, open, organic reproduction.
It took 7 years, right? The R10 takes a distinctive approach to low frequencies. What problem were you trying to solve compared to a conventional front-firing woofer approach?
We were trying to free the music even more, trying to get lower compression, trying to have lesser resistance, and trying to make it disappear even more.
How do you think about bass, not just as extension, but as speed, texture, and integration with the mid-range?
In my opinion, that is what bass is, integration with the mid-range and having this great impact on the track. So you can always purchase a loudspeaker that gives you bass.
Right.
But is it textured? Is it soft when it's supposed to be soft? Is it hard when it's supposed to be hard? Does it integrate well with the rest of the drivers? Will it sound like a live performance at a concert place? That's the question. If it doesn't, it's not bass, it's just extra sound.
Right.